at that moment when you were sharing like your beautiful raw emotion with us, and I hate to put you on the spot, but what were you feeling at that moment? You can,
Yeah. So I'm thinking about we've said that, this is Jermon's first time performing this or doing this piece. So the three of us have done it twice or in 2 other venues. And each time different things bring up different emotions for me, so it's not always like that word on cue, I start crying, So it's like, Jermon was saying at the beginning, he didn't know what to expect, so I try and stay open to what emotions will come up. I try to just stay present with what's happening, and sometimes in rehearsal, I would get really choked up reading Jermon's piece, thinking about myself, thinking about what was my experience at age 12, age 14. A lot of it was me grappling with my sexual identity and gender identity, and being in the closet. And so sometimes it's just me feeling a lot of compassion and emotion for someone who I love in my life, and sometimes it's me thinking about my young self and how I didn't allow myself to feel like offering compassion to a younger version of me, a younger self. And I think that moment specifically, I just was remembering when that conversation happened. The quotes in Spanish, those are more or less direct quotes from my mother, and at different points close to when I came out to her. And it was one of the most intense, I think, years for me. And I think I was just remembering how hard it was and how scary it felt to feel really scared of your mom. Like, I felt scared in different ways of her because of her really intense relationship with my dad, very abusive. But that was like another level because it was my relationship with her that I felt a lot of fear. So I was just remembering and allowing myself to emote. I cry a lot. If people in my personal life know that I'm generally a big crier, and it's definitely one of my big healing mechanisms and tools. So when I feel it, I'm just like I'm letting it out, not holding it back. It's really healthy to cry, I think. So I'll just try and do that.
Yeah, so I've got like 2 kind of embarrassing questions. One, well, not that embarrassing, I guess, because all of them are so smart. I sort of tapped into like real chemistry between the 2 pairs, and I'm wondering if there was a sort of a method to that madness, and if you could talk about that. And then the second question is even more embarrassing. It's, how did you sort of decide on your wardrobe?
Those are not embarrassing. Those are great, very great gay questions. Well, the pairs, or this team. Let's see. I know everybody very differently from very different spaces. Ray is one of my partners, and I just think they have like an incredible story, and one that I've never ever experienced, and I know that actually most probably people in the world haven't, like a Japanese, Paraguayan, genderqueer, trans person who's lived in 7 different cities. Just like, what? Who knows that story? That's not on your local television station, so I thought it would be very significant for them and for an audience to bear witness to what that looks like, someone who's lived so many different lives already at such a young age. I've known Jermon since he was 11, and I was 13. So he's like my little brother. And and we totally were little young gays together, and we grew each other up. Too young, and we're adults at such a young age, and really took care of each other. And so I've seen him, and he's seen me through a lot. And I also feel like, who hears about the black gangster who's gay? Nobody. So, like, let's actually talk about that. Let's talk about the homo thug, because they exist, and they're real, and they're amazing. And needless. And with Vic, Vic has the best. I'm going to tell you. I'm giving you the process. I've known her for 15 years too, so she's trying to direct me. Vic has the best voice, like that raspy, like, what y'all want? Like, turn up voice. And I haven't known them long, but I've been witnessing that. And I'm a performer, so I watch people a lot. And so not even knowing their story, I just knew that it would be really important to share. And Hala and I got to work together in her classroom. And we've shared a lot of just conversations around our theory of teaching and change. And I thought that her story would be really important. And so when we sat together as a team, I just really was like, okay, how do I want to configure these groups? Whose stories seem the most unrelatable to tell each other's stories? And so that's therefore the team. And I felt like Jermon and Ray's stories are like so different. And it was really important for me that they didn't tell their own stories, because oftentimes when we tell our own stories, we don't allow rawness to come through. We don't allow vulnerability to come through, because it's hard. Like, it's hard to tell your story, and it takes a lot of practice to feel vulnerable. But we can hear other people's stories and feel really vulnerable and compassionate. And so I knew that was going to happen. And they were kind of a little freaked out at first. They were like, wait, you want us to tell each other stories? Like, how do you know I'm going to do it right? But they totally, that's what made it even more impactful, is because they took each other so seriously. Like, okay, I have to tell your story. I have to do you justice. So it had everything to do with trying to get sort of two separate stories that seem really different and have them tell each other's stories. No, wardrobe. And then we'll take one more question, and then we'll be here.
To be honest, I was feeling clear, so I just.
Same. I mean, I think I wanted to wear something that felt comfortable and also cute. I like suspenders, they're gay. I think also that something that Patrice really emphasized, that we're not actors, and so to me it's interesting because every day when I pick out my clothes, I'm dressing in drag, and it's in some way I'm performing, and so it kind of feels like, oh, I'm gonna put on an outfit thinking about it, how am I gonna feel, what is it gonna look like, my hips, like my chest, like those things I'm always constantly thinking about anyway, so it kind of just feels like, well, if I dress like me, then it's probably gonna be a performance.
I was thinking about a mixture of comfort and Boy Scout. You
see the theme? It's all gay. Real clear.
And I think also something really important, I had this at the last one too, it's a ring that my grandmother gave me, and she was like my best friend. So, comfortable Boy Scout who loves their grandma.
Yeah, I mean, I think the direction that Patrice gave us was to feel free, because we're going to be feeling a lot, so we just want it to be natural. And like all of us, it's just
okay, how are we going to get dressed? This is me, you know, in every day. And it's interesting, I think, for me, being a hijabi and covering, which is what I do in my everyday life. It's, you know, it's interesting because it is a performance in the political state of nature that we live in. And it's also my faith and my God consciousness. So, you know, we are who we are, and we can offer, I guess, who we are, and all of our queer selves, as we always say. And it's beautiful, right? Because it's all queer. You know, I think that's what it is. Like, yeah, we woke up feeling queer today. I guess that's what. Yeah, I'm like, yeah, Jermon. That's what I woke up feeling queer today, and that's how I dressed. Yeah, today. Yes. So thanks, Jermon. He said it best. I guess. Hey, he's coming. He's coming. Don't worry. Because he's got style.
Yeah, he does.
You're red selling with that brooch, though.
I don't even need to say anything. I mean, as I said before, I have a conversation with colors, and these colors were speaking to me. They were screaming, Daryl. However, when it comes to clothing, almost everything screams.
That's a French mustache.
Yeah, and wow. And, you know, yeah, European colors, I have a French mustache.
Yeah. Must be Creole.
Yes.
All right, last question or five. Joint question.
You go first. Oh, you go first.
Go ahead.
I wrote my question down. You taught me well. So I appreciated the etymology going on, and the lighting and the fierceness of the movement in the background. And so for me, what was your process like in reflecting on the years of your life that cultivated you into the strong warrior you are today? The process of rooting your emotions and experiences in these certain words.
Thanks. So I had a miscarriage last year, and the end of the year. And as I said, I'm a performer, so I'm always watching. So while I'm having a miscarriage, I'm like, I'm gonna have to do a performance on this and share it when it feels right and safe. And so that was the sort of inspiration for this Warriors event, was my miscarriage, and thinking about how silenced that process is for people, and how just how many closets we have, how much coming out we have. And so when I had my miscarriage, I made it a point that I wasn't going to hide it, because I've had to hide so much in my life, and I think our hiding is really dangerous. And so I would tell people openly, like, I didn't come to the meeting because I had a miscarriage, or it's happened to me, and so many people were like, oh, I had one too. Oh, I had 3. Oh, and just like all these stories that were like hidden stories. And I was like, God, we're such warriors. Like, we live with these things that we hide that affect us and impact us and leave these huge scars that no one can see. And so I wanted to tell that, but I didn't want to like tell it. And so I decided, let me just start from year 1 and give all the and I literally just wrote it. I was like one writing session. I was just like, let me just try to see what I remember from the last 30 years. And
Wow.
That's exactly how it went. I just like wrote it down, places I didn't remember. I don't remember. And so, yeah, so that I think all of us, in any capacity, whether we write it in a journal or we share it in front of an audience, those things that we hide, they eat away at you. And in a program that a lot of my family members have been a part of, there's a saying, you're as sick as your secrets. Mm-hmm. And so I really tried to not keep my own secrets.